What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm back with another video. We're going to look at 14 different NBA legends and pick which game from their career was their best playoff game. And for this video, I'm going to give some quick stats as well as some quick facts, as well as some overall context as to why I picked those games. Now before we get into this video, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, make sure to do so, and if you could like this video, I'd greatly appreciate it. So with that being said, let's get into the video. So first up on our list, we have Michael Jordan, whose best ever playoff game is the 98 Finals in Game 6. And the Bulls heading into this game were up 3-2 and looking to win their 6th ever championship. Now Jordan in this game was fantastic, having 45 points, including 16 in the fourth quarter. He became the oldest player ever to score 45 more points in a finals game, and he had the most points ever in a player's last ever playoff game. And stats-wise, this game from Jordan is not his best ever game, but how he played in the clutch really elevates his game over the rest. As in the last 50 seconds, Jordan had 8 points, the steal on Karl Malone, and the iconic shot over Russell. And that sequence right there is Jordan's most iconic moment in his career, and it makes this game Jordan's best playoff performance. Now moving on, we have LeBron James, whose best ever playoff game was in the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals in Game 5 in Boston. And heading to this game, Miami was down 3-2 and facing elimination. And LeBron, like you guys know, is one of the best elimination game performers of all time. In this game, he was fantastic, having 45 points, 15 boards, 5 assists. He had 30 points in the first half on 80% shooting. He became one of 4 players ever to be 45, 15, and 5 game in the playoffs. And also in this game, he had the 4th highest field goal percentage for a 40-point playoff performance. And LeBron playing so great in that game single-handedly saved Miami's season, and it saved the Heat's big 3. And still to this day, that is the best playoff game LeBron James has ever played in his career, given the context and the overall circumstances. Now next up, we have Magic Johnson, and his best ever playoff game is the 1980 Finals in Game 6. And heading this Game 6, LA was up 3-2 on Philadelphia, but in Game 5, Kareem went down with a severe ankle injury, and he was absent for this Game 6 in Philly. So with that being the case, Magic stepped up big time, having 42 points, 15 boards, 7 assists, and he helped LA win their first championship in nearly a decade. Now also in this game, Magic became the youngest player ever in playoff history to have a 40, 15, and 5 game. He is still the youngest player ever to have a 40-point game in the finals. He is still the youngest player ever to have a 40-point double-double in the NBA Finals. And in my opinion, that game for Magic is the best finals game of all time, given the fact that Magic was a rookie playing without his main superstar, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And next up, we have Larry Bird, whose best ever playoff game comes in the 86 Finals in Game 6, playing in the Boston Garden. And in this game, Bird Celtics were up 3-2 on the Houston Rockets, who had Hakeem Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson. And Bird, as always, came through big in this game, having 29 points, 12 assists, 11 boards, and he helped Boston win their 3rd championship of the 1980s. Now in this game, Bird made some history. He became the 3rd player ever to have a 25-point triple-double in the finals. He is one of 4 players ever to have a triple-double in a closeout game, and he's the 4th Celtic ever to have a triple-double in the finals. And Larry Bird himself said this game is the best game ever played in his career, as he dominated on offense as well as defense, and he got Boston a huge W. So next up, we have a big fundamental, Tim Duncan, the best power forward of all time, whose best ever playoff game comes in the 03 Finals in Game 6. And in this Game 6, San Antonio was up 3-2, looking to close the Nets out at home. And Duncan in this game was fantastic, having 21 points, 20 boards, 10 assists, and 8 blocks. And actually those 8 blocks should have been 10, and he should have had the first ever quadruple-double in the NBA Finals. But even with Duncan being screwed in the stat sheet, he still had an all-time great game. He had the most blocks in a playoff game for a player who had a triple-double. He's one of 4 players ever to have a 20, 20, and 10 game in the playoffs, and he's one of 2 players ever to have a 20, 20, and 10 game in the NBA Finals. And much like Larry Bird in 86, Duncan in this game dominated in all aspects on offense as well as defense. His rim protection, his shot blocking, it was all going for Duncan that night, and it's easily his greatest playoff performance. Now next up, we have Steph Curry, the best current point guard in the NBA, whose best playoff game up to this point was in the 2019 Western Conference Finals in Game 4 versus Portland in Portland. And in this game, Curry had 37 points, 13 boards, 11 assists, and he played tremendously well on both ends of the floor, and he came up big for this Warriors team in the clutch. And for Steph, this is his 2nd ever playoff triple-double, and by making 7 threes, he broke the record for most 3-pointers made in a triple-double performance, and he had the 2nd ever playoff triple-double for a Golden State Warrior. And what makes this game even greater is that Steph in this game was playing without Kevin Durant, and he was carrying this Warriors team on the offensive end, outplaying fellow point guard Damian Lillard. And looking at Steph's former teammate Kevin Durant, his best ever game comes in this year's playoffs in 2021 in the Eastern Conference Semifinals versus the Milwaukee Bucks. And KD in this pivotal game was phenomenal. He had 49 points, 15 boards, 10 assists, and he got Brooklyn a crucial win without Kyrie Irving and James Harden playing on one leg. And stats-wise, KD in this game had an all-time great performance. He had the third highest shooting percentage for a player with a triple-double. He was the first player ever for a 49, 15, and 10 playoff game, and he had the second most points ever for a triple-double performance in the NBA playoffs. And like I said in this game, KD was without Kyrie Irving, and James Harden was banged up, making this game even more special and more iconic. Now next up, we have the greatest winner of all time, that being Bill Russell, whose greatest playoff game comes in Game 7 of the 62 Finals. As in this game, Russell had 30 points, 40 boards, 4 assists, and his Celtics team won their 4th straight championship. Now stats-wise right here, Bill Russell, this is his best ever Game 7 performance. In NBA history, this is the only 30-point, 40-round game in the playoffs. It is the second most boards ever in a playoff game, and the most rebounds ever in a finals game. And for Russell, what makes this game so special is that he scored 30 points, which usually he did not do as a defensive first player. But in this Game 7, he did everything on offense as well as defense, and that makes this his best ever playoff game. And next up, looking at Bill Russell's biggest rival, we have Wilt Chamberlain. And Wilt's greatest game actually comes versus Bill Russell in Game 5 in the 1967 Eastern Conference Finals. And Wilt in this game was dominant as ever, having 29 points, 36 boards, and 13 assists. And that right there was his 5th ever playoff triple-double. It is the only 25, 30, and 10 game in playoff history, and the only 25 and 25 game on 60% shooting in playoff history. But looking past the stats, this game for Wilt was so special because he finally beat his rival, Bill Russell. And actually, it is the only time he ever did so, making this game even more special, and by far Wilt's best ever playoff game. Now looking ahead, once again, we have a great big man, this time Hakeem Olajuwon. And I think his best ever playoff game comes in the 95 Western Conference Finals versus the Spurs in Game 6. And in this game, Hakeem scored 42 points, had 9 boards, 8 assists, and 5 blocks. And he dominated MVP David Robinson. And historically, Hakeem in this game is one of 4 players ever to have 40 points and 5 blocks in a playoff game. He had the first ever 45, 5, and 5 game, and the 4th most blocks ever in a 40-point playoff performance. And like I said before, him embarrassing David Robinson adds to how special this game was, as Hakeem took it personally that David Robinson was the MVP for the 95 season. And in this game, he once again proved David Robinson was not on his level, making this Hakeem's best ever playoff performance. So next up, once again, we have a great big man, this time Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And Kareem, as you guys know, is the greatest big man of all time, and I think his greatest playoff game comes in the 1980 Finals in Game 5. As in this game, Kareem had 40 points, 15 boards, and 4 blocks, and he became the second oldest player to a 40-15 game in the Finals, one of 3 players ever to a 40-15 game on 65% shooting, and he had the 7th highest shooting percentage in a 40-point Finals game. And it is widely known that in this game, Kareem went down late with an ankle injury that would cause him to miss Game 6 in Philly, which the Lakers would win. But this Game 5, in my opinion, is the most overlooked Finals game in NBA history, as if Kareem didn't dominate in the 4th quarter and he didn't perform so well, the Lakers going back to Philly would have been down 3-2, which in return would have made it even harder for LA to win 2 straight games without their dominant big man. And in a weird twist of fate, it would have ruined Magic Johnson's great Game 6 in that series. So Kareem in this game was definitely great, and once again, I think this game is the most overlooked game in NBA Finals history. And moving on from one great Laker, we have another great Laker, that being Kobe Bryant. And Kobe's best ever playoff game comes in the 06 season in the first round versus the Phoenix Suns in Game 6. In this game, Kobe had 50 points, 8 boards, and 5 assists, and it was the highest scoring game he ever had in a playoff game. Also in this game, Kobe became one of 10 players ever to have a 55-5 game in the playoffs. He had the 6th highest 3-point percentage in a 50-point game, and he's one of 7 players ever to have a 55-5 game on 55% shooting. In some more odd context for this game, Kobe, he was heavily criticized for scoring 50 points. So in a weird way, this game from Kobe was his best game, but also kind of one of his worst games, as he was unfairly criticized for trying to carry LA past the Phoenix Suns. Now looking at Kobe's former teammate and fellow Laker great, we have Shaquille O'Neal. And Shaq's best ever playoff game comes to the 02 Finals in Game 2. As in this game, he had 40 points, 12 boards, and 8 assists, and he dominated the New Jersey Nets. As in this game, Shaq had the 7th highest true shooting percentage in a finals game ever. He became one of 5 players ever to have a 40-10-5 game on 60% shooting, and on 14 free throw attempts, he shot 85.7%, which for Shaq is amazing and definitely above average. And why this game stands out for Shaq is because he dominated in all aspects, scoring the ball, rebounding, passing, as well as shooting. It was a complete all-around performance and one of Shaq's best ever games, and I think his best ever playoff performance. Now, last but not least, we have the legend Dirk Nowitzki, whose best ever playoff game comes in the 2011 Western Conference Finals in Game 1 versus the OKC Thunder. And this right here is one of the most forgotten games of all time, as in this game Dirk had 48 points, 6 boards and 4 assists, and gave Dallas a Game 1 victory. And in this game Dirk shot 80% from the field, the highest percentage ever for a 40-point playoff game, and had a true shooting percentage of 93.9, the second highest ever for a player who scored 40 plus points in the playoffs. And one last fact is that Dirk in this game made 24 out of 24 free throws, the most ever made free throws without a miss in playoff history. So from an efficiency standpoint, this game from Dirk, you could argue was the most efficient, high-volume game in NBA history, and I think it's by far Dirk's best ever playoff game. So that right there is 14 NBA legends and their best playoff game in their NBA careers. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and as always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.